miscarriages or you have been trying to get pregnant for years, when you see these happy announcements, it's so hard not to feel like, oh, why is it me this time? So many women have been there.
What are you doing?
Oh, why is it me this time? It seems like everyone's getting pregnant around me and want to start a family. God will bless.
You doing? Are you begging? You want my food? Excuse me. Excuse me, hello. What do you weigh? 8 over kilo. So how beautiful you are. Oh, in the deeps. Hey, he really wants to say hi to you, Zayna. Oh.
Oh yeah, ice cream.
Good girl. Good girlie. Zayna. Is that my baby? Is that my baby? Oh, look at that tail's going. Hi, gorgeous. Where are we again? Are we at the beach again? Who likes to eat the sand? I no. Hi, gorgeous. Good morning, Papa. You still wag that tail? You still wag that tail? Hey! Hey, baby! gorgeous. Good morning, Papa. You still like that tail? You still